Ladies, are we good?
Yeah.
All right, so y'all can just yeah, like at 9:25, y'all can let them in.
Okay.
All right, we're live and it's already being recorded.
Hmm.
Okay, ready to let them in?
Yeah, go ahead. Y'all could, y'all co-host. Jimmy, go
Okay.
ahead.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you please put your district in front of your name, please? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's 9:29.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
So the time is 9:30, and we do have quorum, and we're live, and we're recording. So welcome back, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Our little minions here are very happy to have you come back to our meeting today. As everybody is just as enthused to be here. I know it's a Thursday morning. It's been an exciting week so far, and we are going to bring our meeting to order. So today is Thursday, November 18th. It's our general membership meeting. We're going to introduce the executive board. For some are new, we have new members. So to get to know, this is a new school year with a new board for Cpac. So I would like to say that Marie Duplaisir is our parliamentarian again. And I want to make it clear that it was a board decision. The board unanimously wanted Marie to continue as Cpac's parliamentarian. Then I'm not sure if he's here yet. Our corresponding secretary is Ben Green from District 13. Okay, our recording secretary is Jazzy Rivera from District 32. You want to unmute yourself and say good morning, Jazzy?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jazzy Rivera for District 32.
Then we have Lourdes won't be able to make it today. She's our second vice chair, Lourdes Jabot from Bronx High School President's Council. And next up, we have Ms. Brown, who's our first vice chair from District 3.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome.
Then we have my fabulous co-chair, Ms. Randy Garay. She represents District 21.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here with us this morning.
And then that leaves me. I am Randy's co-chair, Shirley Aubin, and I'm representing Queens High School President's Council. Marie, you want to say good morning to everyone?
Hello. Good morning, everyone. And I'm logged in twice, so I'm echoing. So welcome. Hopefully this will be another fruitful and progressive new school year. Thank you, Ms. Alden.
All right. So we're going to watch a video.
Oh.
Feel free to represent your district, your council. Okay, I was told y'all couldn't hear the music. So later we'll play it again, or it'll be on the website for the
I
music.
heard the music. I heard it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. All right, so we are Cpac. That should bring joy to us. It's a big honor to be. We're elected parent leaders who's representing all of New York City public schools, students, and their families. We, all 30 of us, are Cpac. I'm not Cpac. Randy's not Cpac. District 1 is not Cpac. Staten Island is not Cpac. We all 38 contribute to the perception what Cpac is. We are all Cpac. And together we make things happen. We are a team. And we need to remember that so we could work together. I like that movie, Remember the Titans, when they were losing at the States. Their record was 13-0, and they were in the locker room. And they said, "By myself, I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect, but together, this team can strive for perfection." And our job is to support our president's councils, so in turn, they can support their members who are PTA presidents of our schools, supporting each other, supporting our memberships that we represent, helping our schools will make our school leadership teams and DLTs even stronger. It will help build capacity for our public voice. Again, we have to have the mindset that we are Cpac and we represent Cpac, all of us together. Whether we are going to other meetings, not as Cpac, but people see us, all of us, as Cpac. And we need to remember that how we speak, how we conduct ourselves in other spaces, they see us as Cpac. So in light of that, we're going to go over our Cpac meeting procedures and standing rules. Our parliamentarian, Ms. Plaisir, has the floor, and she's going to go over it.
Thank you, Chair Alban. Would you please stop sharing so then I can be able to share that. And we have other members waiting to be let in, please. Ms. Daniels only. All right, thank you. Hope everyone can see my screen. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Our Cpac meeting procedures and standing rules. And what they are is basically overall how Cpac will conduct business on a monthly basis, and also how we would follow and proceed with procedures that help having a productive and effective meeting. So to ensure that our Cpac meetings are run smoothly, fairly, and in compliance with our Cpac bylaws, we ask that you respect the following procedures and adaptations. Please do not speak until you are recognized by the chairperson, who will be assisted in managing the meeting by our parliamentarian. Please limit your questions or comments to 2 minutes to ensure that we have our maximum participation by the greatest number of representatives present. The parliamentarian will be monitoring the time allotted. Remember that the other speakers as per our bylaws is A, first, the executive board, B, our voting members, and C, non-voting members, if there is time and they are recognized by the co-chairs and assisted by the parliamentarian. We want to make sure that we hear from as many people as possible during the course of the meeting. Therefore, there will be times when we do not call on someone who has just spoken. Please understand this is an attempt at fairness. All voting members have first seating preference at the table. When we were meeting in person, that was the way that it was done, in the conference room over at Tweed when we were in person. And it's the same virtually on Zoom, only voting members and also I guess guests are admitted directly into Zoom. Membership must be clearly identified by displaying the membership identification plaque. Again, that's in person, but now virtually. If you notice, I added in the chat to add your district, rename yourself, but to add your district number in front of your name. You would rename yourself on the Zoom participants listing, reflecting the district that he or she represents. Please note that if the president is not present at the table and or on Zoom, the designee is the voted representative for that district and is able to vote on matters of the membership. Alternates must have written notice from the President's Council president or designees or an email sent to Cpac at info.cpacnyc@gmail.com, indicating that the alternate has the power and been given the green light to vote on behalf of that district. And for the purpose of voting on any Cpac business, only the voting members, designees of your district who is eligible to vote shall be seated at the table and virtually on Zoom. Please remember that. And of course, for additional information and our meetings, rules, and procedures, you can refer to the Cpac's bylaws, which is available upon request. A copy is available on the website at www.cpacnyc.com. Robert's Rule of Order, newly revised, the RNR for short, is the parliamentary authority used to govern unless it's inconsistent with Cpac's bylaws.
Thank you,
Madam
Marie.
Chairwoman.
Yes, I need you to stop sharing, please. So in summary, right, we're going to wait to be recognized before speaking. We're going to ask everyone to be here, to be present. That means including in the chat. When people are speaking, everybody's attention should be here. The chat is to be used to ask questions or used to engage if the speaker, whoever has the floor, want engagement from our attendees. Be respectful, courteous, and professional at all times. And this applies to not each other, but also our guests. We can disagree amicably. We are not going to always agree 100% of the time. But again, being professional and courteous should govern our behavior and demeanor. Remember, others would like to speak, so be mindful of the time, and our parliamentarian will enforce the 2-minute rule. So opposite, do not unmute yourself to say that you have your hands up. Wait till you're recognized. No side conversations in the chat. No, do not be disrespectful. Do not ask follow-up questions after your question has been answered. Use the chat to ask follow-up questions. And the results of infractions to the meeting decorum, warning on the first infraction, except for in some cases, muted for the rest of the meeting, can be a consequence of not meeting decorum rules, or removal from the meeting. And being disrespectful to anybody on this platform is an automatic removal from the meeting. Why? Why do we have meeting procedures and meeting procedures and standing rules? Perception, right? The thing about perception, it doesn't have to be factual, but this is what people perceive to be. And since we are all Cpac, what we do, how we act, is a reflection on Cpac. Is also, since we all here run our own individual president's councils, if we're behaving here and not following meeting procedures, are you doing that in your own meetings? Are we doing that in our own meetings? Are we allowing those disruptions in our own meetings? And if we're not, why is it okay to do it here? Another reason why all of us have meeting procedures and decorum is to run an effective and productive meeting. We have chairs, we have presidents who presides over meetings, and their responsibility is to make sure it's smooth, productive. If you're not speaking at this time, please mute yourself. Make sure we're focused and stay on time. We know this as parent leaders, and we should be leading by example. Everyone feels, well, another reason why, so everyone feels comfortable to participate. When a few is dominating the conversations, sometimes people don't want to participate into the conversation. We want our attendees and guests to return. We want to have a welcoming environment that is organized and focused. Again, by leading by example, we're going to follow meeting decorums and etiquettes, how meetings should flow, informative and productive, teamwork and collaboration. This is our, by leading by example, the way we conduct ourselves on this public platform. Responsibility of presiding over meetings. Meeting norms are followed. Meeting norms, we are going to enforce those norms. The meeting norms, responsibilities to keep the focus, again, the flow, and be punctual. At that note, we're going to go and conduct business. So our agenda today is we're going to conduct Cpac business, which includes approving the minutes, going over letters that the high school committee have for us. We have face updates. And the agenda is wrong. At 11 o'clock is the chancellor. And then we're going to talk about vaccines, COVID-19 and its vaccines. So at this time, the minutes were sent to everyone. We have it on the screen. Take a few minutes to go over the minutes. Okay. Dr. Cody, you have your hands up. You have a question in regards to the minutes?
Yes, I don't know if you wanted to do roll call, but
I'm sorry.
The
attendance sheet is in the chat. Everyone, please fill out the attendance sheet.
Okay. Glad I said something. As far as the minutes are concerned, I think they were well written. It's just two suggestions that I have, or recommendations, that on the first page where it says minutes were August 12th and September 9th minutes were adopted. I think you should add with corrections. Also, for the elections, I think that the names should be consistent. Like, I know my name is spelled J-A-C-K-Y in one area, and then J-A-C-K-I-E in another area. Then, you know, it says Miss Zillow, then it says Jessica Zillow. I think the name should be consistent throughout. If you're going to say Dr. Jackie Cody, then put Dr. Jackie Cody throughout. If you're going to say Mr. Ben Green, then say Mr. Ben Green throughout the entire elections process. So those are my two recommendations and suggestions. And when it's time to make a motion, I'll raise my hand again.
Miss Selena?
I just got a, okay, I just have a simple correction. I don't know why I'm echoing. I always list myself as Selena R. Atterbury. That's the only thing I need corrected.
Okay.
Thank you.
So who would like to make the motion for the minutes with those corrections. Who would like to make the motion to accept with those corrections with the names?
Daisy Rivera, make the motion to accept the minutes with the corrections of changing everyone's name to be consistent and to fix Selena R. Atterbury's name.
Awesome.
I second.
Please wait till you're recognized. Do not called out.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the executive board don't have to raise their hand? They could call out? Because I was just seconding behind Jazzy.
Again, I asked a parent, one of the two, to make the motion. Everyone's going to follow the meeting decorum. Again, let's not make this a debate. You're going to raise your hands and you're going to wait till you're recognized. Thank you. So who would like to second that motion? Dr. Cody?
Yes, I just wanted clarity because Jazzy didn't raise her hand. So I second the motion behind her motion. So I just want clarity. If the executive board can jump in when they want, then fine. I just want to know. Are we being fair or what? I just want to know, but I second it.
Thank you so much for your concern. Dr. Cody, everyone is going to raise their hands with the exception of Randy, because she's the co-chair and the parliamentarian. So that will be clear. Thank you. Unless I am addressing the board, they'll respond accordingly. So all those who are in favor of adopting our minutes with corrections, please raise your hands or unmute yourself, say yes, or you could type it in the chat. Anyone who would oppose this motion to adopt our minutes with corrections at this time, you can type no in the chat or say nay. And anyone who wishes to abstain from voting can do so at this time by stating they abstain or write it in the chat. Okay, thank you very much. You do not have to be present to adopt the minutes, but it be in attendance. The attendance of the minutes were set ahead of time for members to review. Again, you don't have to be present at that meeting to adopt the minutes. So we're going to move on. The yes have it. So our minutes are adopted with corrections. So our first letter that was sent from the Cpac committee is in regards to encouraging the age of 21. The current COVID-19 was, well, as you know, Cpac support efforts to allow students who were aging out, turning 21 years old last year in the midst of the pandemic, the opportunity to return to high school. And so not to lose their chance to graduate. So I'm assuming we all read the letter ahead of time. Anybody has any questions in regards to this letter or concerns? District 15, Jenny, you have your hands up. Selena, you have your hands up.
Yes, excellent. I just think when we're taking a vote, instead of raising our hand, to be clarified, we could use check or X, because I know that I still have my hand up when you're saying no, and then I had to lower it down. So I just think checks and X's work better if you're going yay or nay.
Well, with the co-hosts can lower the hands. We have multiple co-hosts, so they can lower their hands if they like.
Just a suggestion.
Thank you. So again, in regards to the letter that's presented at this time, anyone who would like to have any questions or concerns? Otherwise, can I have a parent make the motion to vote on adopting this resolution? Ms. Green, Brooklyn High Schools.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I had mine was really actually a question about the letter. And the way it's written right now, it's more about task, which is what they call the GED. There are actual options in the DOE for students who are over age and under credit to still continue until 21. So without it necessarily being the task, although the task is offered as well, a lot of schools will allow students to remain for another year in order to complete what they have to complete without it necessarily going to the task. So I'm just wondering why it's structured around task in particular, because you know, I'm not opposed to tasks, but that's not necessarily the only route to it.
Oh, okay. So I'm getting clarification. So the letter is to improve the website so those over 21 clearly know how to get their high school equivalency. That's
Okay.
that's the task.
All right. That's what I was asking. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions on that, on the letter? So that's the intent of the letter, to improve the website. So those who are over 21 know they can still get their GED. So do we have a parent who would like to make their motion to approve this letter asking the DOE to improve the website in regards to those students who were over 21? D9, Ms. Griselle?
I, Grisel Cardona, make the motion to approve the drafted letter to make the website for students over 21 to get their high school diploma.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have a parent that, a member that will second that motion?
I second it.
Could you please raise your hands and not call out? We have Miss Green, and Miss Green, go ahead.
I second that motion.
And Miss D20, Miss Tamara?
Seconds. I apologize. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So thank you. So the motion has been put on the floor to adopt this letter, to approve it. So all in favor, again, you can unmute yourself and say aye, or type yes in the chat. Or if you'd like to raise your hands, you can raise your hands as well. Okay. I'm going to clear, or Jimmy or Randy, clear the hands, please. And at this time, anyone who opposes to approve this letter, to improve the website in regards to individuals that are over 21 to get their GED, to be knowledgeable on how they could continue to get the high school diploma equivalent, say nay at this time. Type no in the chat. And also we'll open the floor for those who abstain to vote. You can abstain from voting at this time and type abstain in the chat. So the yes have it. So we have adopted this letter, and it will go to the appropriate, to the chancellor and her team, and everybody will get a final copy of this letter. So we have one more from the high school committee, and it's about the social and emotional needs and mental health of our students. Open the floor for discussion, questions, or concerns. Dr. Cody.
Yes, a letter about mental health should include a focus on addressing the pandemics of racial injustices and violence in New York City school communities. There are not separate matters and shouldn't be addressed separately. My constituents are concerned about racial tension with attacks on Asians, police being called on bird watchers, a woman attacking a 14-year-old regarding a phone, the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and too many others, the violence, the bullying, the cyberbullying, guns and weapons being found on students. It's plain negligent not to emphasize these social dilemmas along with COVID-19 in our request that DOE enhance services to address students' mental health. And it's careless to think that students' mental health can be effectively addressed in isolation of primarily reaching out to every New York City school, community citywide. So for the record, Manhattan High School's President's Council will be abstaining from this vote regarding this letter. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like any comments, questions, or concerns about this letter? So at this time, I would like to have a member to make the motion to vote on the second letter from the high school committee regarding mental health of our students. Ms. Green?
I move that we vote on this letter, that we approve this letter.
Thank you. Do we have a parent that will second that?
Second it.
All right, someone is calling out. Please raise your hands. Do we have someone to second the letter? District 2, Leonard?
Yes, I second.
Thank you. District 2, thank you, Tamara. So the motion is on the floor for Cpac to adopt the second letter. All in favor at this time, say aye, or raise your hands, or type yes in the chat. Anyone who opposes at this time, the motion to adopt this letter can say so at this time or type no in the chat. And anyone who chooses to abstain at this time can do so by abstaining. Okay, so the yeses have it. We have adopted the second letter and everyone will receive a copy of the finalized letter. So at this time, I just want to announce there's going to be a time change. The chancellor is going to come at 10:45 to speak. She asked to speak earlier instead of at 11. Ms. Garay, Randy, you have your hand. Can you clear the hands up, please? Thank you. So we're going to address some Cpac concerns. So DOE emails. We are encouraging everyone to use the DOE emails. All PAPTA's President's Council got the DOE emails, and because of last night, when it goes into regarding your financials, you're going to have to use your DOE email to hook up your bank account. The DOE emails. We are autonomous, so you can keep your original email, but when it comes to at least the financials, you're going to have to use your DOE emails for online banking and your financials. Now, we've been getting a lot of concerns about respecting personal email addresses and phone numbers. When we are giving people personal emails, when we have our members' emails, they are not to be distributed or shared between organizations. If us individually have people's personal emails, we aren't supposed to share it without permission. You know, we do have the Hipaa laws to consider. Please ask people first, giving personal emails. And I'm not talking about the DOE emails. They're not personal, they're public. We talk about members' individual emails, your constituents' personal emails. Please respect, because that's their property, it's not our property. If DOE forgets to blind CC, or us parent leaders, we forget to blind CCs, this is not the opportunity to obtain people's email addresses and use them without their permissions. And this goes with personal cell phone numbers as well. There's also been concerns that people are being harassed via email. You know, you can harass people electronically as well. Please be mindful of this. And if you feel like you're being harassed by via email, please let your FACE liaison or your family leadership coordinator, and they will take appropriate steps. Now, we also got concerns that circumventing Cpac reps or other parent organization parent leaders. We have our meeting norms and decorums. Each organizations, each president's councils have their meeting norms and decorums. They have their own process. They have their own parent leaders. They have their own executive boards. Please do not circumvent the process. The system is really disrespectful. You know, it just is not cool. Don't do that. Do not go to, please, could you mute the individual, please? Again, let's keep this in mind. We're parent leaders, and we got to remember how we behave, what we say affects other people and affects the perception of Cpac, right? We represent Cpac, we represent our president's councils, we represent our district, we represent our school, the community, not just ourselves. And they see this as we go, no matter what platform we are on. So let's keep that in mind. Now, the use of DOE access, the use of the New York City DOE logo is theirs. It's there for decades. None of us should be using this without their approval. These logos are for DOE employees and sanctioned documents that come from the DOE. When you use these logos, we are saying it is associated with the DOE. And we're not going to do that if they're not sanctioned by the DOE. Our documents, our presentations, this belongs to them. And they said they will enforce, and they have already enforced, in some cases, sent out a desist and desist order. So remember, we all have our logos. If we don't, we can create one, but do not use DOE logo on non-sanctioned documentation or without their approval. Now, Cpac public announcement. So we're going to talk about the citywide leadership team. We're not supporting the citywide leadership team. Why? It's been over 3 years. This has been on Cpac's plate, and every single time has been declined. Now, it started off in the high school committee. They declined it, but it was brought up to the first board. And we talk about the first board is when Ms. Gibson and Ms. Green were chair of Cpac. Now, 4 boards later, we're still dealing with Cpac, the citywide leadership team. Now, this board unanimously declined supporting the citywide leadership team or allowing it to be present on the public platform. General membership voted it down twice already. This the structure, the new structure, proposed structure of the citywide leadership team. So we're going to get off the Ferris wheel. We're going to stop that. We will not entertain the citywide leadership team on the Cpac level. We're speaking for Cpac. We're not speaking for any other organization. They can make the determination on themselves, but Cpac as a whole, it's time to move forward from the citywide leadership team. And why has it been consistently not being supported? Because we believe, and we 100% confident, our stakeholders also believe more meetings are not the solution. We need to be improving the existing structures. We are Cpac. Our membership is president's councils, PTA presidents. We need to be supporting and improving these structures so our school leadership team and our district leadership team are strong, especially with the parent voice, and we're working in collaboration with our stakeholders. Also, the A655 does not support the school leadership team, but it does support the citywide high school subcommittee meeting, where all the stakeholders in regards to high school are meeting there. We also have our first Deputy Chancellor, Donna Conyers, who oversees DLTs and CLTs, and even created an email address that says Ask Leadership Team to moderate people, parents, especially the parents, can raise concerns regarding SLTs and DLTs. Also in the A655, it describes where the chancellor appoints individuals to combine the 32 districts, district comprehension education plan. These DLTs have all stakeholders on there, just like the SLTs. There's at least a minimum of 4 parents that are required on the DLT. You have your community president's council, you have your high school council, president's council, you have your CEC, and you have your district parent advisory council, Title I, DPAC chair on these DLTs. So we have parent voices there on the DCP, and each district is represented there with all the stakeholders, and they create their district CEP. So at the central level, they combine all those district comprehension education plans together, so it'll be representative of New York City. And we are stating this again, so it's not going to continue to be coming up going forward. And instead, we should be focusing on how we spend the funds. Are we having those conversations at the SLTs and the DLTs? We're going to be fully funded this year. How are we spending those funds? The chancellor and the mayor is going to support or fill in those register losses so schools can be whole. Again, what are we doing with the funds? How are we going to make our school and our students' academic career successful and improve and increase opportunities? Are we having these conversations? The health and safety of everyone, our students. There's an increase in incidents and violence in our schools from K to 12, pre-K to 12. What are we doing about it? What are we having the conversations? The social, emotional, mental health of our students, of our stakeholders, ourselves. These are things we should be concentrating on. We should be concentrating, which is our goals all the time. All students receive all their services that they're entitled to. Multilingual access for all. Right now, it's Brilliant NYC. Are we participating in the engagement? Are we giving our opinions and concerns? This is us to be part of the blueprint of the plan. It's supposed to be a blueprint, and they want engagement from stakeholders. Here's our chance. Are we participating? Are we going to our district's Brilliant NYC? And of course, always and foremost is the parent voice, building capacity, making it stronger, making sure we're heard and our opinions matter. So now we're going to go into Cpac updates, and A660 and A655 will be with Randy is going to give us updates.
Good morning, everyone. So first, we would like to thank the panel for educational policy for unanimously approving the proposed changes to Chancellor's Regulations A660. We would like to thank Adrian and Sadie for including parent leaders on the bridge team. This was our ask, and you made it happen. We love the collaboration with our outstanding faith school-based liaisons. It was Anthony Settle, Anthony Aguilar, Maisha Taylor-Mike, BB Madden, and Rebecca Rosado. We want to thank you for the work you do to support parent leaders. We also had family leadership coordinators that were included on the guidance document that will accompany the Chancellor's Regulations A660, and a bylaws template, which is almost complete. So thank you to Heather Fiorica, Sonia Rueda, Maria Carrera, and Rebecca Alicia. Beautiful things can happen when everyone works together. So like I said, the PEP approved the A660 last night, and now the work begins for President's Councils and PAPTAs to update their bylaws to be in compliance with the revisions and to start functioning in the 21st century. Deputy Chancellor Adrian Austin and FACE Executive Director Sadie Campo-Amor will speak more about this later in the meeting. We will begin working on the Chancellor's Regulations A655 shortly. So Shirley, Jessica, and myself will be on the team with FACE. And parent leadership clinics will be offered this year on topics that you request or we feel are needed. We'll be sharing best practices and resources and provide support based on the needs of parent leaders. So you can send Cpac an email with some topics that you'd like worked on. If you feel that you're in need of anything, we can do small groups. We can do it for the whole membership. It's basically going to be really engaging this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Randy. So we're going to have Jimmy to talk about the roundtable conversation with Sadie and Healing Ambassadors.
Okay. Our roundtable that we meet with Sadie on Fridays is combined of a lot of stakeholders. We have CBOs, we have students, we have FACE, Sadie's there, and we have different constituents from FACE that come in and shared. We had the conversation with about the Mosaic curriculum, as well as Brilliant New York. And these are things that we discuss, and we've been doing this so that they're getting the parents' input. And we have a lot of stakeholders. We have the PAC, we have different organizations, and we're all sitting around the table and doing that. And with the Healing Ambassadors, there was a 4-part session this summer where we learned and we were giving information to share and be able to go back and share out at our schools, which was supposed to take place in November. And these are meetings where we're speaking with the parents and sharing and getting ideas on how we can better and come back. We won't be back the same, but to get us back as normal as possible as we go heal ourselves to be here in school, going through the pandemics that we're going through.
Okay, thank you. So website update. So we've been since the last board creating or using another vehicle for the website. So that's why things aren't quite update, because we're transferring all the information from one into the other, and the old vehicles, only one person can have access to the website, and we moved it to WordPress so multiple people can help update and maintain the website. So hopefully by January, it'll be up and running the way that we would like it fully. Title I committee, Jimmy, you have the floor again.
We're opening up the Title I committee, and our first meeting is going to be November 23rd. And the link was sent out for you to sign up, because the only way you can come in is you sign up, and when we send it out, and that link will not be shared. So that will be going out again. So you need to sign up and we will be sending out the link.
Thank you. So the next high school committee meeting is December 10th, and all those who, it's open to everybody, but you must sign up. You will not be let in if you do not sign up for the, and that applies to all committees. You need to sign up first because we're not using our own Zoom. We need to know who we are letting into the meetings. The next committee to commence is going to be the special education, and to start up, to kick it off, will be District Brooklyn High Schools. Ms. Green, she's going to start off for us, opening up that, getting it up and running. And then we have the proposed bylaw changes. So I believe the chat should be disabled on YouTube. Our parliamentarian is supposed to be here on this floor with us. She shouldn't be monitoring here and the live chat. So we are proposing to appoint a live stream coordinator to moderate the YouTube. And we want to remind everyone, observers, everybody's observers, and the meeting is constructed for our membership. So the membership is participating in the meeting. They're voting in the meeting, membership. Everyone who's not a guest or observers, and the majority are here on YouTube, you should be going to your PTA president for questions, who will turn go to parent, to their president's councils. And then in turn, the president council is coming here to Cpac to address concerns of the president's council or their district or their borough. And in turn, Cpac reps are to take the information and disseminate it to their president's councils, who in turn, the PTA presidents, disseminate the information to their school. And it goes both ways, the communication, concerns, questions, ideas, etc., from the PTA all the way up to Cpac, and then down. The communication floor should be continuous. More on that before December meeting, the proposed appointment of a live stream coordinator. And then we also would like to make amendment changes to the parliamentarian as well. Right now, it could be appointed by the chair, but right now it could also include Cpac membership. And at this time, we would like to remove Cpac membership, propose change to as a parliamentarian to ensure that no one's in the spot of trying to be, you cannot be impartial if you're also the parliamentarian and are allowed to vote as well. That's for the updates for us for now. And I'm going to stop sharing at this point right now. It's 10:25. We have 20 minutes. I see that Miss Atterbury.
Brown,
Yes.
just a minute, please.
Okay.
Just we want to verify to make sure that we do not have members of our membership on the phone. Just to identify who is Susan Summers and Veronica's iPhone. Just to verify, make sure that it's not one of our members, so they could name accordingly.
Hi, this is Suzanne. I'm with the DOE press office.
Okay, all right, thank you, Ms. Summers. And Veronica's iPhone?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, morning. I'm sorry, being late. Veronica Clark, District 17.
All right, we'll rename you accordingly, Ms. Clark. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Chair Orban.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to take these two questions that we have on the floor. The two people have their hands up. And Ms. Atterbury, you had your hands up first.
Hello? I see where I'm echoing. It looks like I'm in twice. So I'm gonna try to fix that, and then if I can just say what I have to say after I clear this matter. I don't know how I'm in twice.
Okay, Dr. Cody?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there's two Cpac concerns that I have actually. After watching the Colin Kaepernick Black and White special, I've been re-energized to stand up against being dehumanized, bullied, and marginalized. The way I've been treated over the past year is inexcusable and must stop. So Manhattan High School's President's Council has vital information to share with parents and should not be censored from sharing this information with parents. And it's unacceptable that the views of my constituents be ignored. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. What's to stop anyone else here from being treated unfairly? If I'm treated unfairly, practice what you preach. It is my goal, however, to remain optimistic that this executive board, despite all but one member being reelected again, will be fair, professional, and work focused, as you just said. So we're going to hold you to it. And with that said, we must have our committees, all of them, up and running, especially capacity building and communications. I sent a list of concerns and they seem like they were disregarded. And it needs to be up and running as soon as possible. No more excuses. Please, no more excuses. Because I and the co-chair that I ran with was not elected to get these jobs done. We must rely on you to do it. And to that end, I am not represented here to waste time, nor continue to be subject of tiny little cliquish behaviors, nor will I tolerate the games and foolishness from the previous executive board. I demand that you use the bully pulpit to uplift and refrain from marginalizing me and certain members as parent leaders representing the entire city. As you said, the executive board must be role models and lead us in modeling what we need to see throughout the New York City public school system. If I have more time, I could provide specific examples of the committees that need to be up and running right now. How can we focus on serious issues to actually advise the chancellor when many of our schools lack even the bare essentials of a working parent association? We need to get to work. The other thing is you're disregarding the bylaws. You're still disregarding the bylaws. And this is not personal at all. Give another parent an opportunity to be parliamentarian. It says in our bylaws that a person can only serve for 2 years, whether they're appointed or elected. They can only serve 2 consecutive terms. Marie Plasmier, she served 4 terms already. This will be her 5th consecutive term as a parliamentarian. This is unfair and violation of the bylaws. Give another parent an opportunity to serve. And this is a formal grievance that I am submitting because the last time I brought it up, I sent a grievance and submitted it and said, give another parent opportunity. The executive board came after me with all kinds of venom. Came after me, and that was in January. So I'm saying it public here and now. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to, before I get the rest of the hands up, I just want to clarify. Half of the board was reelected. The other half was not reelected. So it's not just one reelected. So let's clarify that. And the parliamentarian is by appointment. It's not an elected position. Term limits do not apply to the parliament petition. So let's clear that right now as well. Now, we want to clarify again, Cpac is made up of 38 members and not just one individual or the few or the board. Cpac is all 38 president's councils. So just keep that mindset. If we all have this keep mindset and respect everybody else's, because our individual opinions is not what matters. It's the collective of the collective Cpac, right? We are all here to represent our constituents in the best way manner. But again, Cpac is not me. It's not Manhattan High Schools. It's all 38 of us, right? So the opinions and suggestions of everybody else cannot be ignored as well. Ms. Singer, D22, you have your hands up, and
Good
then we will.
morning.
I'm sorry. We will go back to this conversation. Not. We'll go back to this conversation after the chancellor. But Ms. Singer is going to say what she needs to say, and then we're going to go to because the time has changed. We're going to go to face updates. Go ahead, Ms. Singer.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if before you had said that we had some extra time before the chancellor comes on. And I was just wondering how the districts who have already had their forums for Brilliant NYC or the Universal Mosaic, how they have felt and if they've heard any feedback from their parents, whether they have found it productive or not. So I was just wondering what the Cpac members have felt about the forums that have been going on.
Awesome. We will address that as a whole when the chancellor comes on or afterwards. But I would like, since our schedule has been reshuffled, I would like the Cpac members, the face updates to be take the floor. So we're going to introduce our Deputy Chancellor, Adrienne Austin, at this time, with Executive Director Sadie Campo-Amor, with family and community empowerment updates.
Good morning. Good morning. Do we have Adrienne on the line? I didn't see her, but I know there are a lot of folks here.
DC Austin is currently not on.
She's not. All right. Let me send her a little ping to make sure she's here because I know she's always wonderful. And I don't want to sort of take this. I don't want to talk about A660 without her here. So hang on one second. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm just gonna, I gave her a little ping and see if she can join for a minute, but good morning, everybody. For those of you who maybe weren't on the panel for educational policy meeting last night, I want to give a huge shout out, of course, to our Cpac co-chairs who spoke. Rashida Harris, another parent leader who was formerly on Cpac exec board, also spoke in favor of the changes to Chancellor's Regulation A660, which of course governs PAs and PTAs. There are a number of our FACE colleagues, Family and Community Empowerment colleagues on the line right now who are a part of the bridge team. Phoebe, Anthony, Rebecca, Anthony Aguilar, and Maisha. There are many people who had a hand in this, but I did just want to personally shout the bridge team and the FACE team members out. If you guys are on the line, put your little face in and say hello to everybody. This was an example of parents and DOE making policy. This is the North Star. This is why I got involved. This is why I put the public back in public policy. This is not easy work. This took months long before I got here and under the leadership of Deputy Chancellor Austin. So that's why I wanted to wait till she was here. Wouldn't have happened without her vision, but it wouldn't have happened without the weekly meetings, the grace and the grit of the parents and the team, the bridge team, who worked side by side, who went so in the weeds, talking about how to use the debit card, financial parameters, how it would implicate bylaws. Oh my God, I hope you guys can hear me. I'm in a loud conference room right now. And eligibility, I mean, really went in the weeds. So to those of you who, aren't, sure, we'll come out with sort of a training program to make sure that there is a deck and that there is clear, both in multiple languages, all sort of explanations of what this means for parent associations, parent teacher associations, and president's councils. But in essence, we expanded eligibility. We codified being able to meet remotely, in a hybrid setting, or of course in person, because over the pandemic, we did notice that people were participating and that this was a way of communicating and this was a way of staying in connection with one another. And then of course, moving us into the modern century and not just using a checkbook, but being able to do some electronic payments. So I won't get into the weeds on that, but I did just want to give the flowers to all of the families who were advocating for these changes, for the hours upon hours that Randy and Shirley and many others gave. And then of course, to the FACE staff who really actually held the pen to make these happen all the way to the very end. And then last but not least, to our panel members, many of whom were PTA presidents once upon a time: Natalie Green Giles, Isaac Carmignani, Deb Dillingham, Nessa Young, Lori Podbesker, Gary Lennon, and many, many others who approved it unanimously. This is not something that happens every day, and it's certainly, especially because the chancellor is not here to say it, this is not something to be taken lightly. But this is the expectation that certainly I have sort of shared with our cabinet members of the DOE, that like, even as you think about, oh, we should lift up this policy or create this policy, I've always said, put your pen down and ask a parent, talk to community members, because fundamentally, I believe that our public school system is better with your input, with your guidance, and your expertise. So I can't say it enough that I want to thank you and just give a shout out to the team that put in so much hard work and so much love into this. And we will be back with trainings. We want to make sure FLCs, family leadership coordinators, FSCs, family support coordinators, parent coordinators, right? Our school-based, our district-based, our central-based family-facing staff know about it. But then, of course, our families like you. It wouldn't be possible without you. So more to come, right? I heard the nod to A655. In December, they'll be voting on another regulation that was also co-created with families and policymakers. So this is the work out of phase, but we hope to continue at all regulations and all policies that happen out of the department. Always consider families, always have seats for families at the table, not just one seat and not just as a decorative sort of, oh, we got Shirley's quick feedback, but that you guys were actually a part, considered, and centered. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Sadie. Adrian is going to come in at 10:45. And she's going to introduce Senior Deputy Chancellor Marisol Rosales. So we're going to go back to, at 10:45, Adrian will come on to continue with the FACE updates. So we're going to go to Aisha. You patiently had your hands up.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because my internet acts up sometimes. I just had a question, whatever. I know we are our own entities, but we work together. But my thing is, like, for high schools, like we have 6 to 12s in each district. How can we get our 6 to 12s to work with our high school president's councils? Because I think that's so important, because there seems to be a disconnect between whatever borough and the 6 to 12s, because there are parents in 6 to 12s that are in the high school parts that don't know anything about the Manhattan or Bronx or Brooklyn high school presidents councils, and they seem to be missing out. Even though, yes, they have their district presidents council, they don't know about their Manhattan or Bronx or Brooklyn, yada, yada. I keep saying Manhattan because I'm a Manhattan parent. President's Council, and I'm trying to figure out a way on how to best work together as a President's Council for us to work well to whatever our issues are, to come together as a team.
I love that question. We could start at our district leadership team, where both president's councils are at that table, correct? I could tell you in Queens that Queens High School President's Council works with the community councils with Queens. They're on our mailing list, they're on their mailing list, and most of them, not all, in Queens, the 6 to 12 are under the high school superintendency. The superintendents have them, but in Queens, and I think it's in all places, that 6 to 12 should be going to both. It's a shame, but they have to go to 2 president's council meetings. They have to go to the community schools and they have to go to the high schools. I think we could start there. If collaboration is not occurring in all places, let's start at the district leadership team, because we're all at the table there. All the parent leaders are there at the table. And next month we could talk about more about collaborations between parent leaders and parent organizations, because also there we do have our community education councils, right? So we all should be working together because we all working on the same goal, just from different approaches, right? So we can help each other out. And it is important that we do, because who sits on school leadership team and DLTs? Our PTA associations. That's a consistent member, right? And so we all should be collaborating all together, and we should be collaborating, try to collaborate as a borough. I hope I help a little bit on that.
You did. Yeah, if we can figure out a way to like share links, Zoom links for meetings, that would be awesome. Even if it's through the district superintendents, like that would be awesome. So parents can go to both if they choose or not. Like,
Awesome. Right. So we could talk more about this and read it on our agenda for next month, right? So all of us can have an input into on best practices. And this is the whole point that we're here, right? To help and support each other. We have 2 minutes. Selena, you're back. So you have your hands up.
Yeah, yeah, I fixed the situation. And just a quick comment to that, Ed, you know, in District 31 Staten Island, for right now, we're trying to work together and do our meetings together so we can work together, because we do have a 6 to 12 school also. So we're just working together as a district and as a borough. I just wanted to make this comment that it was for a long time ago, but I had to wait. I know you said that Cpac has decided certain things pertaining to the COT. I'm a new member, first time sitting at the table. So I just feel like when we deciding about things, and I know you said it was 3 years ago or 4 years ago, this is a new, like you said, new administration. So I think in order for my voice to be counted for now, since you're saying that this is going forward from now, it can't go back from what was done before. It should always be rung up to the current members sitting at the table. We cannot go and say 3 years ago they decided this, 4 years ago, because then you're not representing me, because I'm not saying I have a vote nay or yay, but you're not representing me because I'm today, I wasn't 3 years ago. So and I don't like the fact that everything seems like, so you're saying we a membership, you're saying we a Cpac, we together, but it seems like everything is being said and it doesn't feel comfortable. Like I feel like I'm part of a team. It's like I'm just sitting here, told what to do, put my hands down and at the table, and I'm not really part of a membership, a part of the team. That's just how I feel. I'm not trying to be offensive or disrespectful to anybody, but I've always feel that open dialogue and everyone coming together to share ideas is very important. Definitely be respectful, but I don't want to be told, as I'm a parent leader advocate plus adult, that this is how it's going to be, and there's no even discussion about it. I just feel like the new board comes in, we start again of bringing new things and agendas to the table, and we go from here. We can't go back with what happened yesterday, because I wasn't here yesterday. My voice should count for today. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate your concern, but it's not 3 years ago. It's been every year, every month. We even discussed it again in July and in August and in September. And non-executive board members articulated very well why we don't want to support leadership team. I remind you, there was 2 different general membership and vote on this, and they declined to support this. So we're not going to continue going back while we have other issues, right? Because this was not yesterday, 3 years ago. Every single board has been brought up every single time. We had the discussions. So in respect to those who were here and back in July and August and September, it's recorded on YouTube. We're moving forward from this topic. Giselle, you're going to be able to speak, but it's 10:46. We're going to let Adrian Austin take the floor. Deputy Chancellor Adrian Austin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Cpac. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I know you guys covered this, but I think Well, I'll say a couple things. First, this is my last Cpac meeting, and so it has been such an honor, such a privilege to work with everyone on Cpac, but in particular this executive board and the previous executive board. Just shout out to you all for the amazing work that you've done. I can say, I'm super proud. I think yesterday was one of the highlights. It's sort of like, all of this hard work that everyone's been doing and we've done together coming to sort of an end and a close and closing in success. And so I'm really proud of that. So I know you guys talked about Chancellor's Regulation A660. I want to shout out the current executive board, in particular. I want to shout out both the co-chairs for being on the bridge team with FACE that really worked on this regulation for months. I want to say at the beginning of this year, like the beginning of 2021, we started talking about the need to revise Chancellor's Regulation A660, and many of you complained that not only was it outdated before the pandemic, it certainly became an outdated regulation, and we had to do all those waivers and to make sure that PAPTAs and President's Councils could function and do the important work of parent leaders during the pandemic. And so everyone was worried that the Chancellor's Regulation was going to sort of come back into full effect as we returned back to in-person learning. And you leaders at Cpac said, like that wasn't your desire. And I remember my charge to you, which was, if this isn't your desire, if you guys want to change this regulation, I support that. And let's work together and let's carve out those changes and change the reg. And so starting, I think in like January of this year, you all worked with the FACE team to change the regulation. And I'm so proud that yesterday, after all of that sort of hard work and toiling and like grappling with the regulation and the languages and thinking through how do we release and relax some of these restrictions on the finances and like the ATM cards and the debit cards, and how do we do that with also making sure while also making sure that there were enough safeguards in place that we wouldn't create more risk than necessary in this space. And so I'm thankful to you guys for coming up and doing that work. I'm thankful to all of you for memorializing the need for virtual meetings. It's like part of our reality. Is one of the successes. It's like one of the silver linings in this pandemic is that we've had so much more parent engagement because of our virtual convenings and the ability for parents to log in wherever they are. And so to memorialize that and make sure that that's a practice that endures and continues was really important. And that's a part of this regulation change. So I thank you guys for that work. And that's one of the regulations. And then we have a second regulation that's on the calendar for December that Cpac has been a part of, which is the new proposed regulation, Chancellor's Regulation A210. And y'all have also, many of you wear two hats. Many of you are both Cpac sort of members and President's Council presidents on one hand, and then you're also CEC members on another, or at least, very connected to your CEC and attending those meetings. And we know over the last 2 years or more, we've seen a lot of those spaces become, places where there are toxic conversations and where, like the disagreements amongst parents around some of these really fraught issues and important issues that at the sort of base level deal with race, gender, equity. We've seen those conversations turn in a direction that's unacceptable. We've seen racism, we've seen discrimination, we've seen sexual harassment, we've seen all of that in these spaces. And so I'm really happy that Cpac and some CECs from across the city were part of an equity council that put together some guiding language that is now going to be memorialized, hopefully, in Chancellor's Regulation A210, and that's on the agenda for the panel for educational policy in December. So those are two huge wins. I think these are examples of, what happens when we as education policymakers partner with you all as leaders on the ground to do groundbreaking work that's in service of families and communities. I think parent empowerment and the concept of empowerment is something that was brought to this agency through our last Chancellor Richard Carranza. He came in, parent empowerment was not a buzzword. It wasn't a thing. I think until, very recently under his leadership. And I am very proud that over the course of the last few years, it's become normalized. Everyone talks about parent empowerment and the importance, at least in my mind, of using empowerment as the frame for what you all do in your leadership is you cut it down, it's the power It's the power that you all have when you come together. It's the power you all have when you organize around principles and ideas and policies that make our system better at delivering on its critical mission, which is to serve our children and educate our children. So I thank you all for the partnership that you have had with me over the last couple of years that I've been Deputy Chancellor, and even prior when I was the Chief Operating Officer for this division. I thank you for your hard work every day serving the parents in your communities and advocating for your communities in this space and beyond. And I look forward to see, what's next for you all and what, sort of big items you guys tackle next. And certainly, I think we've created a model for what it looks like to work together as DOE and parent leaders to successfully accomplish some really important policy changes. This is what it looks like. Looks like A660, looks like A210, and I'm very proud to have been able to do that work with you all. So with that, I also just want to give you guys a heads up. We have a really big language access announcement coming up. It's going to come next week. It's like all the successes, one after the other, which is really fun as I sort of close out my DOE career here. But we have a really big announcement we are very excited about. So look forward to seeing an email. We'll make sure we send it around to you before we actually go live with the press, sort of the details of that announcement. But it's very exciting. I've spoken to you about it before, but it's a really serious, huge investment in language access for our families, which is an incredibly important mission for our agency. But in particular, it's something I'm very proud to have done. And so with that, I will turn it back over to you, Shirley and Randy. And thank you, Shirley and Randy, specifically for being the leaders on that bridge team from Cpac and being those reps, because you guys were consistent. Y'all showed up with the base team. It was Anthony Aguilar, Anthony Settle, Rebecca, Maisha, Paola, there was Sadie. Many folks from the FACE team are also responsible for getting us to this place. I want to acknowledge the role that FACE played in this moment and the leadership of our executive director, Sadie Campo-Amor. But very excited. And I want to just give my thanks to you all. And then Shirley, I don't know if I do the honors of introducing our next.
Just one question. So Giselle has a question, but yes, this bylaws template has been updated with the proposed changes. And
we're working on it. I was gonna get to you guys in chat. But
okay,
yes.
so but let Giselle verbally ask her question that she had. You could unmute yourself, Giselle. District
Hi,
Lawyer.
Bess. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I do have PAs that have not amended their bylaws because some did get their elections done really late. And so I did tell PAs to hold off on amending bylaws because awaiting the regulation changes. So should I still continue to tell PAs to follow whatever they were following until we get this template? And how soon do you think we will be able to get it? So that way PAs can amend and change to match the regulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Grisel. We didn't want to sort of cart before the horse, so we wanted to make sure it passed. And so we actually we have some draft documents. We wanted to make sure, of course, that the regulation amendments passed last night, which they did unanimously, and that we should have them to you guys and hopefully translated by that time too, right at the top of December. This is something that we were working on and anticipated that it would pass, but we did want to make sure that it did before we finalized it. So yeah, hang tight. We will have that. And then we will also be sort of rolling out I don't know if it's kind of an engagement plan, a training plan to make sure, again, as I had said, multiple different audiences have the information that they need to be able to, guide PAs and PTAs and president's councils on the changes. So more soon.
Thank you, Sadie. Adrian, DC Austin, before you introduce our next speaker, you will be truly, truly missed, and best wishes to your future endeavors. You really were a champion for the parent voice. You are the one, and of course with Sadie and with your colleagues, made sure our parent voice was at the table with the A660 provisions. We live it, and so we should be at that table and helping making policy changes, and we really appreciate it. And you're dynamic, energetic, and you will be successful in your future endeavors no matter where you go. And I'm going to stop there before I get emotional. So you have the floor to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Cpac. So it is now my great honor and privilege to introduce someone who I think is relatively new to this space. So our Senior Deputy Chancellor, Marisol Rosales, has been in her new post for quite some time, but she's really been leading in this space of parent engagement, parent empowerment, and is very passionate about the work. She came to the Senior Deputy Chancellorship from Manhattan. She was the Executive Director of Manhattan Schools. She was a superintendent. She was a principal. She is a sort of veteran DOE official that's worked her way up the ranks. And she most recently has been leading the engagement around Brilliant NYC and has been the fearless champion and leader of a lot of the changes around gifted and talented that have been announced and are coming. And we are very excited about her leadership, particularly in this space. And she is here to hear your questions on behalf of the Chancellor, Cpac. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to our Senior Deputy Chancellor, Marisol Rosales.
I love you, Jackie, Dr. Cody. I do, because I am a little bit emotional. This is my second time listening to DC Austin sort of sharing her goodbyes. And, you know, she talked about A660 and A210 and language access. And the reality is that, yeah, those are some of the product of her incredible work. And then there's so much more that she's done for us as a system, for you as parent leaders and for us as educators. So DC Austin, we've been working closely in different roles, but more so in the past 3-4 months in my new role. And you have been just incredible in showing me your way and your approach to engage families. So I've learned such a great deal from you, and you will be truly, truly missed. And my commitment to DC Robinson was to make sure that I am supporting her team and you parent leaders as she transitions out. So thank you so much, DC Austin. And on that note, it is such a pleasure to be with all of you this morning. I know Chancellor Porter had a last minute press conference with the mayor, and so I am so happy to step up and any time to be with you. DC Austin, I actually spent some time with this incredible group last month, and I got to hear some of their questions. So I do bring some information, some follow-up, and happy to take additional questions. But I just want to recognize all of you Cpac members, our parent leaders listening in our school communities everywhere. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for your leadership and for lifting up the issues and concerns from our communities. You're volunteers and you're the leaders that have the trust and the confidence of our families. So I just want to say thank you very much. Last time I was here, we had talked about the high school admissions process, right? And I just want to say that middle school admissions is not yet. I will recommend that families peruse the programs in my school and sort of check and favorite programs to be added to the applications once it opens. We will let everybody know when the application is set to open and the timeline. So definitely more to come on that. We also talked a little bit about geographic priorities. And I want to tell you that in addition to your feedback, we've received and we continue to receive a ton of feedback from our families. So we are reevaluating the policy to remove the high school borough in some priorities this admission cycle based on the feedback that we receive. Just want you to know that as we listen to the feedback, we are putting the needs of families front and center, and we will be able to share details very soon. The SHSAT will take place in December. there are details that can be found in our website at schools.nyc.gov. I also want to talk a little bit about our middle school and high school applicants. So families can begin to learn about their school option and visit schools actually virtually or in person via their open house events. Use myschools.nyc to find the link to schools websites where there is a lot more information about the events. And families can also sign up for alerts on our website that they will receive ongoing updates from our office. The other thing that families can do is visit the website to watch a series of admissions videos that walk through the steps of applying to schools. The videos are really short and can be viewed easily from anywhere. Something else that came up last time was the admissions guides. So the 2022 public school admissions guide will help students and families participate in the admissions process. It will onboard families to admissions using the My Schools while pointing to many of the digital resources and personalized support options. The guide will be available for students and families who may be applying to 3K, pre-K, kindergarten, middle school, and high school. The English printed guide is currently being delivered to schools, and we will finalize that delivery in all languages in a very short period of time. The PDFs will be available soon as well. Something that Chancellor Porter wanted me to share with you, it's about the Universal Mosaic curriculum, something that she's very proud of. She feels really strongly about this. And so I'm just happy to share that we will be co-designing our first ever Universal Mosaic curriculum by New Yorkers for New Yorkers. I love to bring members of that team in the very near future to share with you the process and where we are. But this pretty much redesign approach will definitely be more effectively engage students by connecting them with their identities, right? Their lived experiences and their interests. And as a New York City student and educator, I've seen firsthand how important it is for students to see themselves in their lives and what they study at school. The Universal Mosaic curriculum will encourage students to connect with classmates who may be different from them culturally, right? By ability or in the language they speak, in many other ways. We encourage you to visit and to invite students and families and educators to the New York City DOE Mosaic curriculum. And the last thing I want to say is just to thank you for your partnership and for your input as we co-design this curriculum. And I think at those were the updates that I wanted to bring to you and some of the updates that Chancellor Porter wanted me to share with you. But if there are any questions that you have for me, that you want me to relate to the Chancellor, or if I'm able to answer, by all means, please.
Okay, so we're going to start with Leonard, followed by Josh.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Marisol. Nice to see you.
Hi,
I'm also trying to figure out how to lower my hand. Thanks. I just wanted to ask, as you know, in about a month and a half, we're going to have a new administration coming in. And I was wondering, are you aware of any communications, official, unofficial, that have taken place between senior DOE officials and the transition team for the incoming administration? And if so, is there an expectation that there may be some policy changes, specifically with regard to admissions, gifted and talented programs? I'm not asking for specifics, in terms of if there were, if there, what's been actually said, but just a general perception that you might have.
Yeah, so I think he shared that he will be making announcements right after the holidays, right? So as soon as that is made official, I'm sure that, his team will be collaborating with our team. And as you know, every administration has a vision and ideas and policies, and we'll definitely wait to hear for those. And we're just really happy to ensure that there is a healthy transition period without losing focus on, supporting our schools to ensure that our children don't get to see any sort of disruption in our families, right? Which is why I said I committed to DC Robinson and to all of you. I'm sorry, DC Austin and all of you to make sure that any needs, any concerns, you can just reach out to me directly, as well as Sadie. We don't want to see any disruption for sure. But as soon as I know more, Len, we'll definitely, hopefully by next meeting we'll have more info.
Thank you.
Okay, Josh.
Morning. I've been known in this forum and others to complain sometimes about how the DOE is sometimes on their back foot. But I actually wanted to speak today about how the DOE handled child vaccinations for ages 5 to 11. It was an absolutely impressive thing to see. Announcement came out on Tuesday evening from the CDC. Wednesday, we had our own announcement out about how we're going to do pop-up clinics in all the grade schools, and support for the principals Thursday and Friday. And by Monday morning, we were putting needles in arms. I know part of that was with the city, so I'm not sure who gets all the credit, but I would really appreciate it if you reach out to the chancellor and anybody else sort of in your orbit and sort of pass along their thanks. That was something that goes that well is not done easily, and I just want to make sure it gets recognized that it was really timely and really well done.
Josh, I really appreciate you saying that. Sometimes we don't get that type of feedback, right? Like we welcome feedback for sure because it makes us stronger. But when we get something like that, it's like it just re-energizes us. So I will definitely pass it on to Chancellor Porter. It has been for sure a collaborative effort with the city and our agencies, our partner agencies, which is like really overjoyed of the first 5 days hosting vaccination sites in our schools. I think we are over 26,000 doses given to our students. So we are just super grateful, and the fact that families are really coming to schools, the places that they trust and love, to have their children vaccinated. So thank you for that. It's been a collective effort for sure. And I will pass it on, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Cody, you have a question for us, Senior Deputy Chancellor
Good
Rosales?
morning. Actually, thanks, Shirley. Actually, I don't have a question. I'm just like so excited on what I'm excited. And I just want everyone here to know, Cpac, that Senior Deputy Chancellor Rosales is about hearing our voices and seeing how we can all work together. So I'm really excited about the opportunity. If anybody that knows me know that I'm nosy and I'm not ashamed of it. That's why I'm a therapist and an educator, because I like to know people's business. So I want to know where you going, DC Austin. And I want to thank you for your collaboration with us, Deputy Chancellor Austin. Oh, she just left. Well, I want to thank her for the work she's done in the past with Manhattan High Schools. And for the record, Manhattan High Schools have never been given an opportunity to present what we want to share with parents, with this new group here. We've never been given an opportunity. So what's being told is inaccurate and it's not true, and we're being marginalized. So I just want to throw that out there. And a good note that, we've been empowered. We will be hosting a New York City wide education forum, which I'm going to put in the chat for everyone to sign up if you want to come, because it's time now to get ready for the legislative sessions and to understand how our tax dollars are being spent, the nitty gritty, okay? This is some of the information we want to present to Cpac, but come to the New York City Education Forum and you'll be shared that information. But again, welcome, Senior Deputy Chancellor. Good to see you. And thank you everyone. And have a beautiful day. Oh, if I don't speak again, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I love Thanksgiving because it's my birthday time. I'm not shy about my birthday. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Cody, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to clarify again, the history and accuracy. you can always just go back to YouTube. So now that's where I'm going to go there, right? With when it comes to the citywide leadership team. Let's make that clear. We could go back to YouTube. We can ask other voting members, so we are laying to rest. So we would appreciate that, Cpac again is 38 members. And we're going to go to our next agenda item. We have one of our guest speakers here to talk about the vaccine. We have Megan Job. Are you here? I saw you come in.
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hi, Megan. How are you?
I'm good. Hold on. Let me just turn on my. How is
Co-chair,
everybody?
before I go, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays, and I'll leave my number on the chat so you can just call me directly, anyone. Okay, I'm here to serve.
Awesome. Thank you. Take your time, Megan. And you have co-host capability. You can share your screen.
Hello, how is everybody?
We're good.
Good morning.
Great. So I believe our time slot is actually 11:30. So my co-presenter is not going to be here until 11:30.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the question at hand. So we'll come back to you at 11:30.
Sounds great.
Awesome. So I believe it was Aisha who has had posed that question. We can address it real quick right now about how Community President's Council, which we all hear, right? Community president and high schools, all the president's councils that exist are on this platform right now. How can we work together with the 6 to 12s to make sure that all president's councils are on the same page? And I am.
Is that to me?
No, this is for the
okay.
members.
Oh, sorry. I was ready. I was ready.
No, go ahead, Sadie. If you have suggestions as well, go ahead. You could have the floor. You could be the first one.
Well, just so thank you for the question, Aisha, and good morning to you and everyone. I just got, confirmation from my team that, schools that are 6 through 12 can attend both the district council and the high school councils. And then I think the broader question was about how you can work together. And that I do think is for the membership, but willing to take your advice so that we can make sure that that can happen in a more collaborative and efficient way.
Thank you. Selena, you have something to contribute to this topic? You have your hands up.
Yes, yeah, I do. I have my hand up from something else, but I can contribute to this. Like I said, in Staten Island, we do have a 6 to 12, and most 6 to 12, their president is really the president of of one PTA, so they can and should attend both the president, the district president's council, and the high school. So if you make it, especially now we're in a virtual and everybody can come together and share out at the table, be at the table, so can work together. So it's not a problem in Staten Island, but just let them know everybody inclusive and be at that table, and to let them know they can be there and their voice is valued at that table. But what I wanted to get to before, because I had mentioned something to you before, and you answered, Shirley, and it wasn't particularly just about that one issue with the CLT. I was just trying to say, just sitting at this table, I don't want to feel marginalized. I want to feel like it's an input. And I know norms are very important and rules and regulations are very important. But when you come to a table and adults are sitting here and you just come with this strict, this is boom, boom, boom. And it's for me, I just felt like I was a kindergarten sitting at the table and you just was telling me, this is how we're going to have it, and this is how we're going to do it, and so be it. And so I didn't feel too comfortable at the table, at this table. And I want to feel where I come in, and I don't feel like restricted, and like I believe in like a norms and respect and order 100%. But people, to me, I won't be able to share and speak up if I feel like my voice is going to be like muffled in, because if it's of a different opinion, that that it won't be heard, and it's only what is already been said in what I can say the back room or another table other than this table right here. So please just make it more welcoming. If that's all I can ask, more welcoming and not so restrictive. Thank you so very much.
We appreciate your opinion, but we are governed by our bylaws and our meeting. This was adopted by membership. This is what we are. This is so, and the chair, and you preside over your own meetings. Everybody preside over their own meetings. This is their responsibility to enforce the bylaws and our standing rooms and laws, so everybody's aware, because it's not about individuals, it's about the collective, right? Because so far it's the same people speaking over and over, and this has been a concern. People don't say it here, but it's welcoming, right? We want everybody to be able to speak. So meeting rules and norms, this is a general membership meeting. And each meeting have norms and rules. And so our job is to enforce so other people do not feel uncomfortable. It's very simple. You spoke a few times already expressing your views on so you raising your hands is not that difficult, a way to be, because that's part of having order. So people don't call out, people do not talk over each other. This is where we go. This is what we all agreed upon. The rules and meeting standards was done collectively by Cpac membership. This is before me, right? Every meeting has been read with the meeting's decorum and rules, and this is what we're going to follow. We are governed by our bylaws. All organizations should be governed by their bylaws. And this is the premise that we decided as a collective. Please mute yourself, Selena. Thank you. So we're not going to continue doing this back and forth, right? This was set before even I was chair. These meetings, rules, and stands. So here we go. We're going to go, and we're going to move on. So since we have time,
this is what I'm talking about.
Listen, you're being disruptive, and the next warning, you'll be removed, because when you conduct your meetings, no one is interrupting you, right? The board, the membership has made their decision, and we are enforcing it. That is our responsibility as chairing, right? So to make sure everyone is treated fairly and equally. And we're going to keep going on, so the minority is not going to govern the majority, right? The majority is going to govern Cpac. And that's how it's going to go forward, because it's not fair that a few wants to take hostage of our meeting. It's not happening. We want everybody to talk. We want everybody to feel comfortable. We want everybody to express. There's 38 of us. We want everyone to speak, because, again, the way we conduct ourselves here is what contributes to Cpac's perception, right? We all are Cpac. So how we behave, how we speak to each other, how we respect courteous is all noted for everyone else to see. So let's keep this in mind as we move forward. Now, we did brief introductions of the board, and Ben was not here when we did that. Ben Green is here on now. He's our corresponding secretary. So Ben from District 13, would you like to unmute yourself and introduce yourselves to our membership?
Good morning, everybody. I apologize for my tardiness. I was stuck in a union meeting. I'm a union rep for my job. So, and then I had some technical difficulties with my phone trying to get in the location that I was at. My name is Benjamin Green. I'm the corresponding secretary. I'm looking forward to working with each and every last one of you there. I'm not new to Cpac. Like maybe about 6 years ago, I used to sit in the same seat as Shirley. So I'm very familiar about the protocols, and I do agree with her that we have to follow protocols and norms to keep everything organized. But I am flexible. with some things, and I'm willing to listen to anybody that wants to talk to me about anything, as long as it's not violating any rules or being, as I want to say, demoralizing anybody on the team, on the executive board, or anybody on the Cpac. If we're talking about moving forward and we doing things for the children and our parents in our district, I'm all for it. That's all. Thanks, Shirley.
All right, Ben, thank you very much. Since we do have 8 minutes at this time, anybody has any questions for the speakers? Otherwise, Randy's going to take questions. Randy, you're going to take questions. You're going to read
Chair Alban,
Yes.
just a second. I've noticed Council Member Archambault from D23 had added something in the chat, which I thought was really important, related to the A660. Since we still have Sadie here, was that answered? I don't know if he wants to.
No, okay, so thank you.
Yes, she answered in the chat. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
She good?
Wonderful.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Randy, ask a question, please.
So there's a question in the YouTube chat asking what the DOE is going to do to fill the void of special education teachers and service providers. Many schools are without PT sets and OT, and there are ICT classes that do not have co-teachers.
Is this for me?
No, I don't see
Is
the
Marisol
senior.
Salon?
I don't see her.
I want to speak out.
Sorry, I thought that she was still here. Can you speak on it, Sadie?
Ms. Rosales is no longer with us. She's
Okay.
gone.
Well, what I can do is quickly turn that around and see if, while I'm still here, get an answer for you, at least get a response. But I would like to just direct any families that are having any special education needs to specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov. I know that that's like, oh, it's a generic email, but actually that's the way they sort of track concerns. So I want to make sure that folks have that. I'll put that in the chat. And then Randy, I don't know if you can copy and paste that, but I would love to send that right to the special ed office while I'm still with you to see if I can get an answer that I could then make sure that you guys have.
I will send it to you now. Parents are also expressing their frustration on the high school admissions process and the timeline.
Yeah, I just can acknowledge how frustrating and it is to have deadlines pushed back and have that uncertainty, and then knowing that the end of the year nears. And so just want to affirm that that has been difficult for many families across the city, and that as soon as we have information, I have committed to making sure certainly that Shirley and Randy get it from me so that they can turnkey it, but also that I can share it with you as well. I think we had a discussion recently that, we want to talk directly to the enrollment team to see if there's anything that they can give us so that we can make sure that we're informing families of what the latest is. But I think we are in this difficult, challenging holding pattern and want to get you information as soon as possible. Recognize the challenge. Sorry.
Thank you. Jessica, Ms. Zillow from District 28. Please introduce yourself. Jessica is our treasurer. Giselle, you can ask your question out loud, please.
Oh, yeah, Sadie, I don't know if you can bring this up to the special ed. I do have parents that are interested in special education recovery services, but there is transportation issues. And I know that according to the data, there have been students that have not completed their IEP goals. And we know because of remote instruction, a lot of our students have regressed. And there is remote option for the special ed recovery, but how does that work if we know that according to the data it doesn't? So if there's any updates from OPT that they could that we can get any follow-up from, or something regarding how we can assure that those students get the services and that they need to make sure that they're academically doing good, if that makes sense.
I appreciate the thoughtfulness and the question. As always, Grisel, if you want to put something in chat that I can get some response to you in, so that I'm not kind of interpreting what I thought I heard, and also so that I can be as thorough with my teams internally to get you an answer back, that would be most helpful. I'll also make sure that I put mine. Oh, you did? Okay, hang on. I will look. I'm sorry. I was trying to do that. I'm also going to put my email in the chat, of course. You can always CC, and you, as in anyone that's listening, can always CC me on your questions and comments to other offices, and that's a way that I can, make sure to ping, or you can bump it, and then of course, so that you have an actual person that you're emailing along with special education at schools, for example. So I'm Sadie Campo Amor, S Campo Amor. It's phonetic Campo, CAMPO, AMOR at schools.nyc.gov for the folks on YouTube, and I'll put it in the chat here.
Thank you. Randy, ask Sadie's your question, and then they can always come back to see if regarding the referrals.
So there was a little bit of a disconnect. I believe that Deputy Chancellor Adrienne Austin was instrumental in getting the PTAs included in the vaccine referral program. I may be wrong, but I think she had something to do with it. But some of it wasn't really expressed. So when we had them come out to the schools and certain PTAs didn't participate and others did, they asked if they can get the referrals for those schools to help, their neighboring PTAs. And it wasn't received well. And there were some PTAs that did lose out on those referrals. It was asked to test and trace if they can do anything to go back. And we haven't heard anything about it. So is there anything that you can do to help?
Okay, here we go. I do have something. Am I muted? No, I'm not. Great. So this is from the contact over there at Test and Trace. I'm also going to give you all her contact information, because she actually was like, yes, people can reach out to me directly. So I'm going to put that in the chat so that we all are connected. I've been connecting her directly with like family leadership coordinators and other parents. So here's what they said about something retroactively, that there's not much we can do to correct referrals retroactively, particularly if the PTA wasn't signed up yet to their prior clinic. It's not an automatic benefit for schools. It's a fundraiser to encourage vaccine education through trusted messengers. Before an organization gets approved for the benefit, we must vet the organizations, which takes about a day or two. We need to verify each referral, and the teams on site ask everyone if they were referred by any group, and then enters that into our bonus system, which is how we authenticate referrals. Fortunately, if the referral is ongoing, or it is ongoing, so if a school's already done it, schools can continue to take advantage of the program and have another bite at the apple for up to 200 referrals. I recommend that organizations use the attached cards, and I will try to either send that to you or put it in the chat here to discuss how we can collaborate and with Test and Trace, which we call T2. I'm going to put the contacts there, and I'm going to put the contact by boroughs there as well. I hope that was okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So at this time, I'm going to turn it back to Megan and Abraham to introduce themselves, and let's talk about vaccines. Megan, Ms. Job.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to meet you. My name is Megan Job. I'm a clinical research coordinator at NYU in the Pediatric Infectious Disease Ward. And I'm here with my co-presenter who can now introduce himself. Yes, hi everyone, and thank you for the invitation. I'm Abraham Aragones. I'm a physician at Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. I work actually on vaccines for many, many years, so I'm very looking forward to giving you this presentation and to answer any question and all questions that you have about COVID vaccines.
Yes.
I think I'm allowed to share my screen. Is that correct? Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to share the presentation, and the first part I'm going to be discussing it, and then the second part is actually going to be Megan's. So again, thank you for the invitation. We're going to try to give you some background about viruses and why we need vaccines, and then we'll jump into the myth and all the other information that you might have heard about COVID vaccine. If you don't hear me or you have any problems, please let me know in the chat. I can also stop at any moment. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let us know. I'll be quick. There's a lot of information here. So you might feel it's going pretty fast. We want to give you as much information as possible. So if you feel like you want us to repeat something or explain something better or more, please let us know as well too. So viruses, really, the coronavirus is actually one of the 200 plus viruses that we know that affect humans. Virus is actually 100th of the size of bacteria. This is a good representation in the middle of what it looks like, a virus. And those actual areas around that circle are what we call the spike proteins or any other proteins that actually are usually common to viruses. They use those to attach to cells in our bodies. As you can see, oh, here it is. There you go. This is how actually, let me just go back. I'm sorry, we're having some issues with the, there you go. So these are, viruses actually need human cells to be able to multiply and to grow and to expand and to attack, as opposed to bacteria, which actually, bacteria can live without a human cell. These viruses actually spread from one person to the other. For example, in the case of coronavirus, through the saliva, through little bits of saliva that actually get suspended in the air and that go from one person to the other. Those actual droplets can travel anywhere between 6 and 8 feet sometimes, and they can remain hanging on the air for many, many minutes, if not hours. This is one of the reasons why we actually ask people to remain 6 feet apart or more. The viruses actually attack our body, but we do have some defenses. And the human system to defend, the systems that we have as humans to defend ourselves against viruses is the immune system. The immune system actually has white blood cells. Those white blood cells are like our soldiers. They're actually circulating around the body, and they actually constantly looking to identify any kind of virus, bacteria, etc. If they come in contact with a virus, most of the time they will eat it. They will actually find it, they will eat it, and they will see if that actually eliminates the virus. But sometimes they're not able to eat them, they're not able to expel them, so they need other methods. And one of those other methods to actually protect us against viruses is the development of antibodies. Antibodies is basically a protein, it's a molecule that identifies the virus that circulates in your body, that identifies the virus. And once the virus is actually identified, it attaches to it. So it actually surrounds that virus, and it calls for the other cells in your immune system to attack that virus and to expel it. So again, it's almost like a signal. It attaches to the virus, and it calls for the rest of our soldiers to attack it and actually push it away from the body. There are multiple ways to actually generate antibodies. So once you get a disease, for example, COVID or some other viral infections, you might get some antibody production that remains in your body. But there are other ways, and one that we have been using for over 100 years, and it's extremely effective, is the use of vaccines. Vaccines actually can accelerate the production of antibodies. So if you're ever exposed to that virus in the future, you can be highly protected right there. without developing the disease or developing the disease in a very mild manner. Vaccines have been produced in many different ways. Back many decades ago, we used to use live viruses, and we used to inject live viruses. That's why some people will develop we do not use that anymore. The closest to that we use now, it's actually a full virus that it's killed through heat in this case that you're showing, but also through chemical ways, and we inject that. But the virus is fully dead and cannot multiply. Your body will actually react to that and produce antibodies. That is almost not used anymore. It's very rare that we see any vaccines produced this way. The more common way to produce vaccines is by taking part of the virus, part of the wall of the virus. I show you some of those spikes in the walls. We take some of those parts and we inject them into the body. The human body produces antibodies against those small parts. So in the future, if you're exposed to the full body, to the full virus, and your body recognizes that, the antibody attaches to that, and then the immune system can actually expel that virus, and you don't get sick. A newer way of producing vaccines is through mRNA. You probably have heard that, and let me explain this in a more detailed way. mRNA is basically a code. What we do is it's a two-step actually process to produce antibody. The mRNA that it's injected into your body, it goes into your cells, not into the core of the cell, but into the outside part of the cell. And it provides a recipe to the cell to produce this little part that you have here in the middle, that little part of the virus. So for example, a spike protein in the case of COVID. Once that spike protein is produced, then the body actually reacts and generates antibodies against that. So again, it's a two steps actually. One, we provide the mRNA that is a recipe to produce this little parts that are actually similar to what you see and you find in the virus. Once those little parts are actually produced, the body generates antibodies against that. It's impossible for you to get sick or get COVID or get any of the other viruses from the mRNA. The mRNA does not produce the full virus in any way, shape, or form. It produces a tiny part of the wall of the virus, so you can actually generate those, and you can get fully protected. That is, in a nutshell, what mRNA it is. The mRNA does not play any role with the DNA, does not get into your genetical code. That is actually in the core, on the nucleus of your cell. So you have there are no issues with interact with the DNA. So how does the immune system work? Well, we actually have these white blood cells, immune cells or white blood cells, and we have antibodies all around our body, just circulating, patrolling, like you can call it that way. And if they come into contact with the virus, well, the antibodies go into the virus. It surrounds the virus. It traps the virus, and it calls for the other troops. It calls for the other immune cells to actually expel that, so you don't get sick. And if you do get sick, you get sick in a very mild way, because the virus is not allowed to do the damage it otherwise would do. So in order to develop vaccines, you have to go through a very lengthy process. I know some people have concerns about this, and Megan might actually touch on that. But for all vaccines, including the COVID vaccines, we have to actually, and we did go through all the phases of developing these vaccines. And first of all, we go through phase one. Phase one is usually has only 20 to 100 people. It's a study. It takes anywhere between a few months to a few years. And the question here is that, is the vaccine safe? We're not even actually looking if the vaccine is effective, if it actually protects us against the virus or anything like that, but rather, does it cause any serious side effects in the human? If we inject this to a person, does that actually create any problem? And this 20 to 100 people that usually are part of this trials, this scientific studies, are usually heroes. They have no idea what is going to happen to them. It can be completely normal, or they can develop some serious side effects. Once you prove that there's no serious side effects, Then you go into phase two. Phase two uses several hundred people. It includes several hundred people, somewhere between 100 to 600 people. And we want to know here, what is the most common short-term side effects? And we want to know if the body starts to produce some defenses against the virus. We don't know at this stage if it actually protects us against the virus or not, but we want to know if the virus actually, if the body reacts to that vaccine and it starts to produce some defenses. It's not until phase three, that includes thousands and thousands of people, volunteers, that we start to look, does the vaccine, does the drug or the vaccine in this case protects us against that, that disease, that infection? And if it works or not, we learn it here in phase three. All vaccines, all drugs go through all these stages, these phases. There's a fourth stage, which is actually the vaccine approval. It can take many years. The FDA takes a long time to actually evaluate the data and make sure that all the data from phase one, phase two, and phase three is clear, that safety is actually well established, that the vaccine is highly effective and it does actually what it's supposed to be doing. In the case of COVID vaccines, there is something different too, which is called the Emergency Authorization. And this only occurs when there's a health emergency. As you know, thousands and thousands of cases were occurring, thousands of people were dying from this vaccine. So there is a mechanism to actually approve this in a faster way. It does not mean that you don't have to do phase one, phase two, phase three, or collect all the information and have good data, but it means that the approval is much faster. And I can show it to you here. Actually, I have another slide that might show you this. So in general, when there's no health emergency, this is how long it takes to actually approve a vaccine. So usually around 1 to 2 years for phase one, 1 to 2 years for phase two, many for phase three, and several years for the approval. In the case of COVID-19 vaccines, all this happened in less than 2 years. And people actually are, some people are afraid of this. Well, they say, do they skip phase one, they skip phase two, phase three? And I'm here to assure you that none of the phases were skipped, but rather we were able to do this for multiple reasons. Now, we were able to do a phase one, phase two, phase three, and find all this data very quickly. First of all, because we knew a lot about the COVID virus or coronavirus back in January and February of 2020. The vaccines that we use today were developed back then in 2020, early 2020, in March of February, March 2020. And because we knew a lot of the genetical information from this virus, we knew a lot of that, there was a lot of sharing of information, but most importantly, there was an enormous amount of money that was put into this by the government of the United States to let the pharmaceutical companies develop this without the risk of actually of what happens if they fail. So let me show you here. First of all, researchers that actually developed these vaccines did not start from scratch. Again, scientists had existing data about the coronavirus, the genome, the data that virus, and from previous pandemics, and they started very well in advance. There was a lot of sharing of information back in January, February of 2020. The mRNA, as what most people know, it was actually not new. It was it's a technology that has been in place for many years and has been studied for many years. It's the first time that it's used for vaccines, but it's not new. And finally, there was an unprecedented financial support, meaning that the government, in a nutshell, and just to make it very simple, the government told the makers of the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, etc., that regardless of what happened in phase one, phase two, and phase three, that they were going to support and they were going to pay for that vaccine, meaning that regardless of what happened, we're going to pay you for the vaccines that we're actually ordering now. So the pharmaceutical companies did not have any risk. They actually could go to phase one, phase two, and if they found that their vaccines did not work, then they will actually be okay financially. That is actually unprecedented. Most of the time, the vaccines, drugs, etc., fail in phase one, phase two, or even phase three. I work in cancer a lot, and I know actually how many drugs fail in phase one, phase two that never show up in
in the doctor's office. And that is actually a financial hit for the pharmaceutical companies that try to produce them. In this case, we did not have that. And that really pushed the development of this vaccine and how fast they were actually done. So a couple of things here. In the case of Pfizer and Moderna, as you can see here, it was actually developed using more than 40,000 people in phase 1, phase 3, I'm sorry. Then what happens after that, when we try to, it was actually first developed for adults, but the following studies, when we try to expand the eligibility for those vaccines, usually those numbers are reduced. So you can see here for Pfizer, it used about 2,200 for older than 12 and about 4,500 for older than 5. Moderna, 3,700 for older than 12. And the reason is because we know that phase 1, phase 2 is safe. We know that actually giving that to a human is safe. We want to know how little we can give to make it effective in the real world. So we can actually start to reduce that dose and see how it works. And these numbers, believe it or not, it actually is double of what originally was planned. So it was planned 1,100 for Pfizer over 12, but the FDA asked these companies to recruit more people, so recruit more kids, so they can be very, very sure about side effects and all that information and effectiveness. You can see the level of effectiveness here after the 2 shots for each of these vaccines. This is just in a nutshell what we have so far for these vaccines. So as you, Pfizer is approved for 5 to no limit. 5 to 11 is one group of people. 12 and more is another group. Moderna is actually requested the 12 more. Johnson has actually requested 12 more as well too, and they're going through the process of being approved. Right now, the vaccines that we're giving to 5 to 11 are Pfizer, and 12 to more is Pfizer as well too. It's 2 shots, no boosters for those ages. Boosters are for 65 plus right now as recommended, but also in some states for 18 plus. The studies are ongoing to have vaccines for 6 months and 5 years. And those should be coming up in the late December, early 2020, hopefully. Boosters have been approved, but there's a lot of, we will discuss this in the next few slides. The boosters are highly effective, and we're going to actually, we're going to see that they're going to be expanding who's eligible for those vaccines. As you probably have found that in New York, it's already been expanded. So the vaccine for the COVID vaccines, all 3 actually can cause some side effects. So pain in the shoulder, headaches, they can cause coughing and other minor issues. They usually go away 24 to 48 hours afterwards, and you can use Tylenol, usually goes away, no problem whatsoever. One thing to remember, please, is that the COVID vaccines it's impossible to cause COVID. And so some of those symptoms are just your immune system. Some of the symptoms that you get from the COVID vaccine are just those, your immune system generating antibodies. These are some of the common coughs, etc. I just want to concentrate in the last one. Here you have a picture of a normal lung as someone that was vaccinated and got mild coronavirus. And on the right side, you see a lung that is actually destroyed by COVID on someone that was not vaccinated. This is actually what we find often, and a sad occurrence these days because vaccines are highly available, easy to access, and these consequences can be fully prevented. Finally, for my section, and I'll pass it to Megan, is that we are at a very sad milestone. In the United States, there are about 750,000 deaths caused by this disease. And about 5 million people have died around the world. But one area that I want to actually pinpoint here or show you is that over 7 billion doses of COVID vaccines have been given in the world. You're not a guinea pig. You're not one of the first ones in phase 1 or anywhere close to that. You are one of the 7 billion or hopefully more that have received these vaccines. And we know a lot about these vaccines. We know that they're very safe, very effective, and that you should feel very comfortable getting them you will be the next one in the 7 billion plus that have received this vaccine. So I'll give it to Megan to continue with this presentation.
Thank you, Abraham. Hi, everybody. So my name is Megan. Like I said before, I work at NYU and I work in infectious disease and pediatrics. So what a portion of the research that my lab does has to do with COVID-19 seen in kids. So what I'm going to talk to you guys today about right now is the variant concern, and then I'll move on to the antibodies, the vaccine development in antibodies, and then we'll go on to some COVID-19 myths and truths. So there are a few variants that we have here. So this is a table of the variants in the United States of America, and the majority of these are actually low prevalence, so we don't see it as much. It's important to note that at the top that scientists develop their own name for COVID-19, but what we refer to as in the general public usually is the origin. So I'm sure that you guys have heard of the UK variant or the South African variant. We also have the time, so around the time it started to evolve. So we have September for the UK variant. Like I said before, the US prevalence is relatively low. The transmissibility amongst these 5, the one that was most we worried about was the UK variant and the South African variant. And the severity that we were most concerned with was the UK variant. So if we go to the next slide, we see that actually that these scientists also use Greek letters to describe them as well. And I think that's very important because sometimes I would hear in the public people being like, oh, the UK variant and the Alpha variant, when in reality, they're synonymous. So there isn't a UK variant and an Alpha variant. It's one thing, but we just use different words. So some people tend to think that there's more variants out there than there actually is. And over the time, if we go to the next slide, what we actually saw is that there was a variant that outcompeted the majority of the ones that we were initially looking at. And that was the Delta variant, which I'm sure that you guys have heard a lot about. It was first seen in India, and we saw it in February of 2021. And that was all over the media. And it is the most dominant strain in the United States today. And the transmissibility rate is about 2 times higher than any variant we'd seen before. And the severity is also around 2 times higher. So we can move on to the next slide. So let's talk about the Delta variant and its transmissibility. So on the far left, I have the R0 or the R0, which basically describes how transmissible a virus can be. And that's what scientists use. It's an arbitrary number. But what is important to look at this graph is that we have an R0 of 0, which means that basically you won't spread it to as many people. And then on the far right, we see a very contagious pathogen called measles. So the higher your R0, the higher that you'd be likely to transmit the virus, right? So on the far left, we have the 1918 flu, and we have Ebola, which has an R0 of 2. So if you got it, you're likely to spread it to around 2 people. But if we look all the way to the right in the more contagious area, we have measles that has an R0 of about 18. So if you have measles, you're likely to spread it to 18 people, which is very unfortunate. But today we don't see a lot of measles or mumps in the United States because we have a vaccine that we developed for it a few decades back. And that's the MMR vaccine that I'm sure that a lot of you guys have and a lot of your children have as well, or your students have as well, because you're not allowed to enter public school in New York City if you don't have the MMR vaccine. And that is given in 2 doses, similar to the COVID-19 vaccine. You get it when you're 12 to 15 months, and then you get it again, a booster, from 4 to 6 years. And I don't think it's a coincidence that all the viruses that we see on the more contagious side have vaccines available. Same goes for the chickenpox, which has an R0 of about 10. So if you get it, 10 people, we can grab your questions at the end, Grisel. So if you get it about 10 people afterward, you can spread it to about 10 people. So the original COVID-19 strain had an R0 of about 3. So that wasn't that bad. But because we couldn't control the original strain and it was actually able to move through the population and form its new variant, the Delta strain, which has an R0 of about 7. And that's what happens when we can't get control of a pathogen. It'll get better at spreading because that's all it wants to do. So as of right now, today, the Delta strain has an R0 of about 7. So if you have it, the likelihood is that you will spread it to 7 people. And then you can imagine those 7 people will spread it to 7 people and so on and so forth. And that's why we saw a rage of hospital cases over the summer and a lot of people getting infected. So this is a schematic from the CDC that basically just says that exact thing, that we're dealing with a different beast right now. In the beginning of COVID-19 last year in 2020, you had an R0 of about 3 or 2 in the schematic, and now the Delta variant has an R0 from about 5 to 7. So completely different beast, highly contagious. So let's get just an overview of the Delta variant. It's about 2 times more infectious than any of the variants that we see. It causes more severe illness. So like I said before, you're twice as likely to go to the hospital and you're twice as likely to have a COVID-19 related death. Unfortunately, the common treatment that we usually use for patients with COVID-19, the transfusion of monoclonal antibodies, or when we give you directly antibodies to fight the virus, are less effective that we see in the Delta variant, which is very unfortunate. That was our first line of fighting the virus. And breakthrough infections in vaccinated people are very common with the Delta variant. So we have an updated mask guidance that the DOE has given out. So how long does the vaccine protection last? So before I go on to explain the antibodies in our system and vaccines and how they're all made, it's important to realize, like Abraham said, that people were in trials before this. So there have been people, we have been living with the vaccine, if you are vaccinated, with about coming up on about a year in the next 4 months. There have been people that have been living with the vaccine for about 2 years because they got vaccinated during the trial. So all this information is coming from the people that were in the trials, right, that got the same vaccines that we did, but very much earlier. So what we do know about the antibodies from the vaccine is that they last at least 6 to 8 months. So there's different levels of immunity that we get from being naturally infected with COVID-19 versus being infected with, versus being given the vaccine. Levels of immunity when we are given the vaccine and with the booster and with the third booster when we look in comparison to natural infection, but natural infection immunity does last longer. Clinical and protection, so how protected you are from being clinically ill. We see that Pfizer has about a 91.3%, and then we see it decline over time, which, like I said before, is why we use boosters. So it is not shocking. I think that, the media was kind of shocked when they found out that, oh, the antibodies change over time. It's a common thing. We see this all the time. That's why the MMR has booster vaccines. That's why the chickenpox has booster vaccines. I just had to get a booster shot for the hepatitis B vaccine because we know how our bodies work. It's not a shock. I wasn't shocked at all when Pfizer said that they would be administering a second dose and a third. It makes a lot of sense. So the FDA actually already confirmed a lot of the vaccines that are being given out to the public now. And there's people signing up and getting vaccinated to this day. And what the recommendation is that you get your third booster 8 months after receiving your dose. So should you get a booster? Yes, that's why I'm here. I think you should get the shot. I think you should get the booster and any other booster that they say to get. Here's a schematic of whether or not if you're eligible. But basically what they're saying is that if you got your shot in February, March, April, you're coming up on a time when you will want to get a booster, especially with the flu season coming around. It would be treacherous if you have both the flu and COVID-19. That would be awful. And also with the holidays coming around, where I'm assuming that a lot of people will want to get together with their loved ones, and we're going to be indoors since it's getting a little colder. 110% you should be looking into getting your booster. So here we have a few graphs from the LANCAT, and this is disregard all the huge numbers. What I want you guys to focus on is the red line and the blue line. So the red line is looking at people who have had 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, and the blue line is looking at people who have had that third booster, right? And what they're looking at is COVID-related deaths, COVID-related admission to the hospital, and severe COVID-19. So what we see is that people who come into the hospital that have had 2 shots and they're at risk for COVID-19 related admissions or deaths and whatnot, they have a higher incidence, accumulative incidence that they see. They have a higher chance of, having an unfortunate outcome when compared to the blue line, which is people with 3 shots. And what I want you guys to also imagine is, what would it be if you only had 1 shot, or if you had no shots at all? Like we would. I think there's some feedback. We would assume that there would be an even higher incidence, right? And then I have at the bottom a quote from the New York City Commissioner that over 630 New Yorkers have gotten boosted, which is great to hear, but not where we should be since the city is gigantic. So if you're available, go get your booster. Now we have some vaccine myths and truths, which is just some, I like to call them folklore that we've heard in the media about COVID-19. So the COVID-19 vaccine will impact my future fertility. This is absolutely impossible. The genetic materials do not change upon exposure to the virus or the vaccine. And if you don't want to get into the science and the gritty of it that describes how this is not possible, you can look at the pregnant women who have gotten their vaccine and had healthy babies. You can look at the women who were in the COVID-19 trials that are now pregnant. There's a whole cohort of women, my sister as well, who have been vaccinated with the COVID-19 and they are pregnant and healthy and protected. Not only are they vaccinated, but they are protected themselves and the baby. The next myth is measles, mumps, rubella, the MMR vaccine that I was talking about before, and other vaccines cause autism. This is absolutely fraudulent. This is something I'm incredibly passionate about. I was very disappointed when I learned about the scientist that made the one scientist that made this accusation. There have been a number of studies that prove that this is inaccurate at all costs, and there's absolutely no causative or correlative link between autism and the MMR vaccine. Lastly, if I get the vaccine and I'm undocumented or an immigrant, the government will deport me or I'll never be able to get a green card. This is a rather fair, I sympathize with this myth. This is not true. So the New York State will not and has not reported any data to the federal government coming from people who are seeking the vaccine. I'm a child of immigrants as well. And I know that this is a very, real fear, but we need to, there's a whole bunch of articles. So if you want to reach out to me, I could definitely send you them that says that this is not true. Where do I get reliable information? So cdc.gov is very user-friendly. I usually go here too when I just want some updates. Also, the New York Times is also user-friendly. For New York in specific, you can go to nyc.gov/coronavirus, and that'll give you the updates for the city in specific. And you can get or sign up for your vaccine, your child, your boosters, all that at vaxfornyc.nyc.gov. And you can also choose the language that you wish to read in. And that is about it, you guys. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you so much. And I see that there's some questions and some raised hands I think Megan and I will be more than happy to spend as much time that we have and you have to answer as many questions as you do have.
Yes.
I see some raised hands. Grisel?
Yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't unmute.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about the MMR vaccine because, and I'll say this because it's happening to me. I would test, I did a blood test and it said that because I did get the MMR as a child and now I had to take it again 2 times. So that's what I'm saying. My question is, does the COVID vaccine bring down immunity? Because I feel like, and I'm trying, there's like conspiracy, whatever. But I just wanted to know, does COVID vaccines bring down immunity? And can MMR immunity go down later on as you get older? Because I know it did for me. So that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so not just MMR, actually any of the vaccines in general can reduce their effectiveness, can be reduced by time. Absolutely. I think Megan just mentioned that she had to have hepatitis B. I had to have it actually several years ago as well too. That is absolutely normal. And it's not caused by by other vaccines or because we get vaccines or exposed to other viruses. Actually, our immune system is really good and has a lot of bandwidth, has a lot of space to create a lot of different antibodies. What happens is that because we're not exposed and we continue to grow and time passes, we didn't react as strong as we hoped when we received the first vaccine, the first dose of the vaccine, then our immunity, our antibody levels actually became lower and lower as time passed.
What I can assure you is that there is no reason to believe that the COVID vaccine or any vaccines reduces the immunity to from other vaccines, or the effectiveness or the protection that you get from other vaccines whatsoever. That has actually been studied. This is one of the reasons why we offer more than one vaccine at a time to kids, and sometimes five different vaccines at once. Because when you activate your immune system, you activate it to produce a lot of antibodies, and there's absolutely plenty of room in your immune system to produce more and more antibodies. So I want to be categorically in saying that there's no science behind the idea that the COVID vaccine or any other vaccine will actually reduce your protection against other diseases whatsoever. So hopefully that's a strong answer. But Megan, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that. No, that was great. That's exactly what I was going to say. Grisel, did you just unmuted yourself?
Yeah, thank you. And then my last question is for kids who have allergies, because I know that my kids have certain allergies to medication, to some antibiotics and certain vaccines. What do you suggest for those families that have like high allergies when getting the COVID-19 shot? Because I have not vaccinated my kids yet because I'm still trying to figure out or decide what my next move should be.
Yeah, so my first recommendation would be to talk to their pediatrician. I'm also highly allergic to medication. Actually, I have a very bad allergy to amoxicillin, and I had to speak to they ask you that in the questionnaire as you go through. If you want to sign up your children at nyc.gov, they'll ask you that, do you have an allergy to this or that? But before you even get there, I would speak to their pediatrician just to rule everything out and go forth. But I would go forth the second that the pediatrician says yes. And let me just add to what Megan is saying, that the allergic reactions to COVID vaccine are significantly lower than what you find with other vaccines, even though we have those 15 minutes that we want to observe people. More and more, we realize that it's actually lower, but discuss it with your physician. It's definitely, even the cases of allergic reaction to the vaccine are extremely easy to treat. There's not an emergency all of a sudden. It's very easy to treat. It's done there in the waiting room or in the exam room. So definitely discuss it with your doctor, because it's a smaller concern than what you might think. And I know we don't have time, so I don't know if we can answer Selena's question.
Yes, go ahead.
And
Yes,
is that okay?
yes,
Yep.
yes.
Thank you, Dr. Abraham and Megan. I just wanted to ask this question because with my job, I work for transit. So I was one of the people that was allowed to get the vaccine, and I'm a severe asthmatic. But my concern when I did go to take it, because they said that the prednisone, steroids could lower the chance of the immunity building up. For those weeks that I needed my prednisone, that I didn't have it, that I couldn't take it. I was so worried, and I was asking the doctor. My doctor saying it's okay, and it just was that was my concern. Like, take it, and now I'm down for my booster shot. And it's at times, like right now, I'm on my steroids. If I take it, will it be a waste because the steroids would make it ineffective. So, and I was suffering for that time, not taking my steroids when I needed it. So that's my concern. If somebody can give me a definitive answer about, that you have a condition that you need medication, and you take this the vaccine, and it could affect it.
So, Selena, let me give you a definitive answer and a not so definitive answer. The definitive answer is that you should get your booster now. You are the group of people that actually will benefit the most from the booster. You're absolutely right that because you were in those medications and you have that kind of treatment, your reaction to or your production of antibodies to the after the first and second dose might not have been as strong as for the general population. So that's a strong answer to you. Get the booster and get it as soon as possible. The second question is, should you stop the prednisone or some of the medications that you're taking? And my suggestion is that you discuss it very clearly with your physician. There's no right answer. It doesn't mean that you have to stop or not stop.
It's more about your particular case. And I would strongly suggest that you discuss it and send a message to your doctor. Tell them that you want to get the booster. Should you stop, and how long should you stop? But let me answer this way too. Regardless of if you stop or not, you will benefit tremendously from getting the third dose. You are the group of people that we knew from the beginning that will need a booster and that will benefit enormously from that booster.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any more questions for Abraham and Megan? Okay, so at this time, I'm going to thank you very much for helping us, educating us, speaking to our membership and regarding vaccines and answering any questions that you have. I hope this was beneficial to everyone today and making their decision to get vaccinated or have their children get vaccinated. And we appreciate it greatly, a lot. So I'm going to share.
Thank you for the invitation.
No problem. So I'm going to share my screen one last time, and then we're coming to a close. Oh, hold on a second. Jessica, you're on. Can you speak?
Sure. Thank you, Shirley. Hi, I'm Jessica Zillo. I'm happy to be back on the board as the treasurer. I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying November so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next meeting is Friday. Oh, it's not Friday. It's Thursday, December 9th. And we want to, veterans have passed, but we still want to honor them all the time for serving and protecting us. We want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And we're going to move to adjourn this meeting. Y'all all want to stay? Anybody wants to second that motion?
I second the motion. Oh, I forgot to raise my.
Okay, Jessica.
Sorry, I forgot to raise my hand. I second the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Awesome. Thank you. So have a good day, everyone. Enjoy. Any questions, feel free to email us info@cpac@gmail.com. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you for coming.